It's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's when the moment we are professional podcasters / game critics, the moment that happens, and this is literally just our lives, and that's all we have to worry about, then we'll be far more stringent with our game of the year lists,
100%,
and all that shit. But for now, we've got lives to lead, and that's important to remember.
Looking forward to when this is just like the big part.
I'm not going to be upset about it.
Not going to be upset about it.
Be upset about it.
Especially when people are recognizing us and being like, "Hey, you're that guy,
dude." What
God
the
damn
fuck?
It.
Like, that's some cool shit.
It's cool. It's cool as shit. You know,
that is cool shit.
You know what else is cool shit?
What's that?
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Pixel It. My name is Kevin. With me, as always, is Phil. And on today's show, we are finishing up Republic Commando Hard Contact.
Hard Contact.
That contact
so
is so hard. It's
hard.
It's
so hard.
So hard. So yeah, it's books finished. We have read it, and today Phil is going to tell you what happened in that book. I was channeling that what happened was really channeling Branson Reese.
I was going to say, it sounded like you were Fozzie Bear without actually doing Fozzie Bear's voice.
Which
like,
is basically
happened?
That's basically Branson Reese.
I mean, yeah, you're not
most
wrong.
Most of the time.
You're not wrong. I love that man.
We should get him on the show. That would be.
Oh my god, yeah, that would be a get.
They just finished. Well, as of this recording, it will be like a month ago. But they just finished the first campaign.
Oh man, I keep telling myself I'm going to listen to that.
Now that it's over, I might go back and binge it.
I think that might be it. Like now that it's finished, now that it's
they're starting their second campaign. Soon-ish.
Damn, how long's that? It's been years.
It's been years. Started before COVID.
Wow.
It was started in the fall of 2019, I want to say.
Oh my god.
It was, you know why? Because I forget who from, I can't remember which cast member was at PAX Unplugged, but we were at because when we went to PAX Unplugged that year in December of 2019, we're in a panel, and one of the cast members talked about being on Rude Tales of Magic.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Carly Minardo. I can't remember.
I don't remember
who it was, but they talked about being, like Rude Tales of Magic, and everybody was like, yeah. And it had only been out for like 2 months or something like that.
It was brand spanking new at that point. Oh, that's funny. Got to get back to that. Having a baby soon.
You're going to have a baby.
When is PAX Unplugged?
It'll be next December would be the next one.
No, but I mean, like, I feel like it's falling on like my kid's
It's falling when the child arrives.
Yeah, pretty much.
So shall PAX Unplugged.
Yeah, that's yeah. There's a lot resting on this kid.
So there's a lot with PAX Unplugged 2023. Looking it up. Oh, okay. No, it's a couple weeks before the due date. It's December 1st through 3rd.
Okay. Yeah. So not quite.
Not quite there, but
still too soon for me to be able to leave and not get divorced over it.
Yeah. I mean, also, well, badges are still available, so.
No. Anyway, we left off.
Oh, bodies. There's going to be a lot of bodies going in the marsh in this episode.
Oh my God, yes. We're gonna put this body in the marsh, and then we're gonna put another body in the marsh, and a few other bodies in the marsh.
Yeah,
a lot of droid bodies.
Droid bodies. I don't think they should go in the marsh. I doubt they decompose, but maybe if you throw them, I think if you threw the droids into the ocean, they would sink and become an artificial reef.
That'd be cool.
For coral.
But otherwise, I think you're right. It's not good for the ecology. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Police have confirmed that the body of the man found dead in the Fenway marshes yesterday afternoon is that of Timothy Delahunt.
So let's see. We started chapter 13, I believe. We start with a report from the Republic Command, a cruiser outside of the planet's atmosphere, reporting that a separatist ship is approaching, and they are anticipating possible hostilities. So
possible hard contact.
Hard contact in space.
Contact. It's space contact.
Have yourself a space war. We are on a Niner, and the squad are together with Goutonnet. They send out a remote, and they find Darman, who is shaving. Which is not something I thought much about with these guys, but of course he'd be shaving. He basically, and it's awfully kind of low key. They're re-meeting, like you're expecting like this big emotional outburst and stuff, and he basically is like, "Niners, that fucking you." Like he's just so exasperated. But they get their coordinates, and they're all going to be together soon, and they're heading towards the villa. So next, for the first time ever, Etain meets the full squad. She sees all of them. She sees all of them with their helmets off, and it's just kind of flabbergasted because they're all identical except for a few scars here and there.
Right.
And they pick up on what she's putting down, and I believe it's Fee who apologizes for the weak way. That's their interpreting her discomfort being over him.
Yeah.
She puts it in a very interesting way. She says, seeing the four of them together, it's like four different moods for the same man.
I like that.
I like that too.
Because Fee is like lighthearted, and Sarge is serious, and Atten is like just the saddest boy of all time.
Well, we talked about this, and we talked about this last episode, and I'm obsessed with this now because I think it's perfectly correct. They're the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, they are the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, we're hitting all the Ninja Turtles shit here, and it's kind of perfect. So she asks for their proper names, not their ID codes, and that throws them a little bit because they're not. Those are really personal, and they're also on top of that. It's not protocol to let the commanders know what their name, but they do it because she requests. Let's see. Etain recognizes Goutonnet as the Weequay who chased her down in the very, very beginning of the book. Points out he's a rapist and just a nasty character. She just about cuts him down with her lightsaber. She is pissed.
She's ready to give into the dark side with this guy.
She's so ready to defect to the dark side like that. And I mean, your attempted rapist would be the one to do it, to be fair.
Which is wild to think that I don't think I've actually read in a Star Wars book or in a movie, even the implication of rape. And now in this, we have a Jedi Padawan saying, like, that man is a rapist. I'm going to cut his fucking balls off.
Yeah, and this book is pretty brutal, but god damn, that's yeah. So
I mean, more power to Karen Traviss to taking Star Wars into a more, it's almost like a mature war story.
This makes me think very much for Star Wars in the same way that Rubicon Protocol for Halo made us feel. It goes into this very real, very dark, very clearly inspired by actual war kind of direction. Yeah, I'm totally with you. Let's see. Darman stops her from joining the dark side, and Etain is going to interrogate him. She's that's going to be her job, and so that she can see what they can get out of him, how they can use him. She witnesses Atten like awkwardly hug Darman. It's kind of a cute moment. Atten is kind of coming out of his shell. He's so relieved to see him.
Right.
Let's see, and this is when she's starting to realize that these they're clones, but they're as human as she is.
Right.
That outside of their advanced aging and that sort of that they are people underneath those helmets, which is pretty important for basically all of this shit. She starts using her Jedi mind powers to question Gutane while the squad discusses what the next step of the plan is going to be, where they're going to hit first, and that sort of thing. Darman gives the squad the lowdown on Etain. They're unsure about her at first, a little edgy around her, but they're still impressed because she is successfully getting Gutane to talk using her Jedi powers.
Right.
So they're not sure what to think about her, but they like her. Etain is she's giving them some information on Loken. She points out that Loken is a game player who likes to bluff and double bluff, which is exactly, if you remember from last episode, exactly what he's doing. He's playing the bluffing game with where he's keeping Uthan. Niner is not comfortable with her request to not call her commander. He's not, because he is the by-the-book sergeant guy, so he's not really comfortable with it. He's going to do his best. He's amazed, though, that she can tell them apart.
Right.
And because after she gets over her initial shock at seeing them all together, it's really no issue for her to tell them apart between knowing them and her Jedi powers.
Right.
And Niner has never felt like anything but a product in his life. He's just a weapon. And so this person who is able to differentiate between all of them, it kind of, I feel like she's giving them all squishy feelings at different points for different reasons. You know? She's like mom in a way.
There's a bit I highlighted. Right then, Niner didn't care if she had less of guerrilla warfare than Amat. She possessed one fundamental element of leadership that you couldn't teach in a lifetime. She cared about those that she led.
Yeah, and that's really the theme in the book from here on out.
Right,
is her actually giving a shit about the people under her charge.
Yeah.
And case in point, she sees this darkness around Aten, the guilt that he's feeling and everything. She's reading his aura, basically, and decides that she wants to help him lose that guilt, which I've written down here is the only way that the Jedi aren't like the Catholics. She's actually trying to get him to get rid of the guilt, so that's interesting. Jannart comes by. She's bringing him some meat. Let's see. And while they're eating and getting together, Etain kind of is marveling at the differences between the clones in fighting mode versus just relaxing mode. Because when they're fighting, it's all business, and when they're just chilling out, they're silly or they've got all, which is true of soldiers in general, because you have to compartmentalize the difference, and that's what she's saying here. Jannart tells them that the villa is a distraction, but they're still going to have to deal with both the villa and the facilities there, because both of them are they're very close to each other. And so when one gets hit, anybody who's in the other one is going to be popping by toot sweet. So they're going to have to deal with both of them. Let's see. They're starting to work on their plans. They're going to blow up the villa to damage the droids that are in there, and they're going to use Gutane to give Hoken bad information, basically. They're going to mind control him and tell him to basically make him lie, which means almost certainly that he's going to die.
Yeah. And Etain has some very serious, sure, she wanted to kill him, but also, doing this bums her out.
Yeah. She is very, she knows that whatever happens, whether this works or not, Hoken is not going to let the Weequay just walk away after this. So she is very literally sending him to his death. And that's something she realized she's going to have to get comfortable with on a certain level. And it's about weighing the needs of the few versus the needs of the many, basically.
Yep.
Jannart reveals
have that Jedi meets Vulcan.
Yes,
moment,
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's so she's struggling with a lot of that. Jannart reveals that this is her home world. She is among the last of her kind, and she's only doing this she doesn't really give a damn about the Republic's cause. She cares because she wants to fight out the invaders who have.
Yeah, she just
betrayed
wants
separatists
people
and everything.
fighting. She just wants them to stop fighting a war on her home planet.
Exactly.
Go have your cause elsewhere in the galaxy.
Yeah, so she's not like she and her consort, I think she calls him, her boyfriend. That are not like freedom fighters in any more sense than they are freedom fighters for their own planet, and that's it. They don't care about any all this other shit. Let's see. Darman and Fee go ahead and hit the sack while Etain meets with Atten. We get a little weapon gear porn. He shows her the night vision scope on the rifle. She wears a helmet, see their HUD and how that all works. And Atten describes their training from trooper up, basically, that there are the different tiers of clone soldier. And
the ARC troopers, which I thought was interesting. They're trained from one day to be more obedient than us, and we're more obedient than ARC troopers. They're pretty well raw Django, which is terrifying.
That is, and that's crazy, because that's the first I realized, like, oh, we aren't following the elite of the elite. Don't get me wrong; these commandos are more specialized than your average trooper, but they're still like levels above them in clone troop. That I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's a few out there that are just fucking Django Fett, basically, working for the Republic.
That's crazy. That's insane. So basically, he's describing it, and it's like they're a commodity,
right?
They're just tools. And Etain has that realization. I thought this is great, where she looks at him and goes, "We use you, like you're not people." And he's like, "Yeah, that's pretty much it." And he's good with that. Etain does her best shot at pulling a Goodwill Hunting on Atten. Son, it's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
Yeah, it's not your fault, and it seems to work. Actually, she helps him smooth.
What the fuck
out.
are you doing, man?
Yeah, no, fuck you, man. They have that moment. She wins an Academy Award, and he goes on to make Ocean's 11 films.
Yep.
It's funny because, and I know you can always use the excuse of like, she's a Jedi, so there's more at stake here. But this did because we still note from here on out that he is far more at peace, and it's literally for her just like going, "Oh, Pookie Bear," and he's like, "You know what? You're right. I am Pookie Bear. Everything's cool now."
Thanks.
So it seems to work.
I'm not Atten anymore. I'm Pookie Bear.
Yeah.
And
he
she's
looks
like,
at her.
Maybe we can keep your code name. And he's like, no, call me Pook.
No, Pooku. Pooku Fett. And
Pooku Fett.
the cutest Mandalorian. Just
to build a bear with a Mandalorian helmet on.
Pretty much it. That's what he is. He's just the squishiest guy. And he says, "Hey, you want to help me make some IEDs?" And she went, "You bet." And so they just sit there making bombs. She has
teaches
this
her all about what an IED is. Improvised explosive devices.
Yep. They are.
They're
just building bombs, like helping mom in the kitchen make some cookies. It's kind of wholesome in a weird way. It's adorable.
This is how, her thought is, this is how you slide from peacekeeper to soldier to assassin.
Yes, I wrote that down. Great line. Great line. Atten wants to see her lightsaber, and we get the inevitable, "Well, you showed me yours, so I guess I have to show you mine" line, which is deeply unfortunate, but okay. He notes that it doesn't really feel like a real weapon. He's kind of amazed that she's made it this far, and she's gaining his respect.
Yeah.
Let's see. As the evening progresses, Etain has been waiting for Goutonnet to escape, thinking that any minute he will leave, and he does not, because
he won't.
Yeah, he's not going back to Hoken without Jedi mind tricks because he knows that it's his death warrant. So what is he?
It's like, why would I do that? They are keeping me alive.
Pretty much.
These
Pretty
people
much.
are keeping
So,
me alive. Yeah.
Yeah. She has been, she's feeling way more responsible for the squad in general. Let's see. So she fills Goudena's head with the idea to tell Hoken that they're going to attack the villa. Yeah.
And
So
that there's two squads.
And there are 2 squads,
Yeah.
not just the 4. There are 8 of them total, not 4. So he leaves, and she watches him go and feels shame because she feels like he's not dead yet, but she has, for all intents and purposes, killed a second person. And she tells Darman it's hard to send men to their death, and then realizes that one day that's exactly what she's going to be doing for men like Darman. Because that's her role. She's a commander. She has to lead. And he points out that she'll get used to it. Chapter 14. 14. We get a quote from an admiral on the importance of fear, basically stating fear is not a bad thing. Fear is something that keeps you alive, which is what we find these young clone troopers kind of repeating to themselves on an hour-to-hour basis.
Right.
Which is great. It's terrific because it's true. No bullshit toxic masculinity among the clone troopers. Good to know. I'm sure that some alt-right dweeb would take it. Yeah, exactly. Among clones. Yeah. Great.
NPCs.
NPC. Yeah, you're very clever. Good for you. You're the main character. Got it. Tyler Durden. Hoken is waiting at Ankit's villa. There's let's see. He's making a point of being visible at the villa for the sake of the decoy effect.
Right.
He wants anybody who happens to see him it's going to further the notion that that's where everybody is and where they should be.
Right.
Uthin is inside. She is not happy with this whole thing. She is pissed, in fact.
Stop moving us so much.
Yeah, exactly. I can't get any work done, that sort of thing. Hoken explains that he's trying to bring the fight to him rather than have to chase them around because that's true. Being on the defensive is always more effective in a situation like that. Let's see. He knows that what they have in there is a small group, that they're not going to survive a full army, but out there in the bush, so to speak, they could pick them off slowly, squad by squad, and they'll be at a huge disadvantage. So he wants to face them with the...
He wants a head-on confrontation.
Exactly. Fully operational.
He wants hard contact.
Exactly. Who doesn't, really? Everyone wants hard contact. Yeah. Let's see. It's not what gets in, it's what gets out. That's what she's concerned about. She's concerned that, I don't, what I'm concerned about is the virus escaping somehow.
Right.
And Loken doesn't like the sound of that. She's getting kind of nervous on him, a little twitchy. And finally, she admits that the nanovirus in its current state
doesn't work.
It's going to kill everybody.
It's like, so the problem is clones are clones of humans. And right now it kills everybody. Right. Not just clowns.
Right. Yeah, it's great at killing clones. Great at killing clones. Great at killing everyone else too. So he is pissed because she's lying to him, and he gives her a chance like anything. It's like your dad when he's made. Is there any other? He catches you in a lie. Any other things you want to tell me? No. And he really wants to kill her. And he even says at some point that the only reason he hasn't just fucking murdered her is that she's a woman, which is a little fucked up, but okay.
Yeah, a little weird side angle misogyny.
Which is funny because don't female Mandalorians become warriors as well?
They do. Yeah.
So
I think then that's the thing is this is still a little bit before a lot of the Mandalorian lore is fleshed out. But yes, in Mandalorians in as is current lore, basically it's like, oh yeah, men, women, yeah, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Not everybody on Mandalore becomes a warrior, but both men and women become
warriors.
Yes.
So they're basically sitting on top of a weapon that's going to kill everybody if it gets out. So the stakes are a little higher, just a little.
Yep.
Let's see. So, and Hoken points that out. He says, "All right, look, we're staying then. Because if a bomb could kill all of us, it's best to keep everybody on their best behavior. So the scientists are going to be held in the core area near the virus, and basically just stay put. We're all going to have to be very, very, very careful now.
Don't spill anything."
Yeah, fucking shitting Tiffany cufflinks here. That is all there is to it. Then finally, Lieutenant Harati emerges with a Trandoshan mercenary, bringing in Gutane, who declares that he has information.
Meanwhile,
yeah. Niner is assessing their gear. They've got a ton of it, but they can't carry it all. They have basically reached the moment in Skyrim where you've been picking up every goddamn thing on your run, and you really got to have a sit down and decide if you need that 15 wheels of cheese.
Do you need all of those skulls that you've been picking up?
They're metal as fuck. That is true, but they are weighing you down.
I had a friend, by the way, who playing Morrowind back in college built because I don't think you could you buy a house in Morrowind, or was that? I don't
think so.
I think in Skyrim
you may have been
could.
given one at one point, but I don't know if you could buy one.
I just remember he built a house out of all the skulls that he picked up.
That's awesome.
Just started piling them all up.
Morrowind was crazy enough and like loose enough with that shit that you could absolutely do that. Makes a lot of sense. I love that game. Damn, I've got that. I bought that on sale and just to have it. And I feel like I really ought to sit down and play through that again.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll get into Steam sales stuff later because.
Oh yes, we will.
By the time this comes out, the fall sale will have ended, but the winter Christmas sale
probably exactly
will be on the eve of it. So
that's what I tell myself. I'm like, hey, Doug, you don't need to buy all this shit because it's just going to be on sale again in about 3 weeks.
Yep.
So we get a little light weapons porn. The stuff that they've, all the bombs and the guns and the equipment, pretty cool. Let's see. They arm Etain with what amounts to a Trandoshan shotgun, short distance spread, point click. Don't need to aim.
You don't. No need to aim, and they're like, listen, I know you Jedis love your lightsabers, but it's kind of silly. It's a fucking sword, and we don't want to get that close.
They say what every Imperial Guardsman has always wanted to tell their commissar with his sword, please keep shooting. That's not going to help us much. She is kind of taking to it, like she digs having a gun a lot. Let's see. Okay. Etain and Jannart are basically going to act as pack mules during this part of the mission.
Yep.
They're going to be carrying a bunch of shit. Niner notices that Etain is getting close to Darman. Real close. Little girl action there. He is worried that Etain will become dead weight, but Darman vouches for her, and of course he does because she is his girlfriend. So that's just how that works.
That's just a sweetie pie. So.
They're just adorable together. That's going to be hard. If you date a clone and another clone says, "What has he got that I don't have?" Then you're really at a loss for words on that situation.
You'd be like, "Well, he's less Jango Fett than you."
It's like, oh, okay. That's all you've got, really. That's
all you got.
It's just levels of Jango Fett. If they do another video game with this that's more involved and interactive, then that will be one of the rows there where it's like, where on this are you? On a scale of 0 to 10, what Jango are you?
How Jango? It's not a morality. It's not like a morality scale. It's just like. It's just how Jango are you?
How Jango, Jango level increased.
Jango levels increase. Yeah, when you're like, Well, yeah, when you're like, you choose to equip a flamethrower and be like, well, that's going to increase your Django level.
That's gonna, oh damn! If I increase my Django level, some of my communication points that I invested in go down. Fuck.
It's like,
Why did I decide to be a charismatic clone trooper?
The more war crimes you commit, the higher your Django level goes up.
It's true. It's true. He loved himself some war crimes. Oh man. So they pool all their rations together and decide to have a couple of big meals for a final kind of send-off before they possibly march off to their deaths. Cut to Hokan interrogating Goutonnet, who he says he basically escaped from four commandos and quote girly Jedi, and lies that there is in fact another squad. And and he basically just goes through with everything that they've ordered him to. Tells them they're coming to the villa. He describes their armor as similar to Mandalorians, and that they all look identical, basically confirming Hokan's suspicion that these are clone troopers. And Hokan's surprised because he honestly thought that clone troopers would be more mindless, and the people who have been doing this work are clearly calculating and excellent at strategy, and that is not what he saw coming. So based on that, he assumes they've got two squads. It's going to be a two-pronged attack. They're probably going to go after both the facility and the villa, which he's correct on, just not fully at the same time.
Yeah, not fully.
He's right. He just doesn't have all the information.
As in, one squad that doesn't exist is going for one.
Right. So Hokan decides they're going to evenly spread out the army between the two locations, and then finally does what we all need him to do. It just kills the shit out of Goutonnet.
He just cuts Goutonnet's head off with a lightsaber.
His head off, which is probably for the best. Chapter 15 opens with a quote from a Padawan Jedi, essentially opposing the clones.
Basically saying the same thing that Etain is feeling. Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Right. And which, thank God, like somebody, you get the impression that it's kind of monolithically like, no, these are great.
Yeah.
And so that's nice.
It's these Gen Z Padawans are.
They're all a bunch of bleeding heart liberals. Can't kill clones. Oh, boo-hoo-hoo.
Boo-hoo.
I got spanked when I was growing up, and I turned out fine. So I saw a meme the other day where it was like a boomer talking to a younger person, and the boomer was saying, I got spanked and I turned out fine. And the Gen Z are saying, my brother in Christ, you've taken your abuse and turned it into one of your personality traits. I think my favorite thing that Gen Z has done is turn my brother in Christ into just a slang for your friend.
Yeah, no, I enjoy the my brother in Christ.
I love it. Good for you, kids.
It is hysterical. Whenever I hear it or see it or use it myself.
I love it. I fucking love it. I don't use it. I need to make
I don't
point to
use it that
more
often, but I just get I get a sensible chuckle, when
sometimes you kids, I don't understand you and your weird things and your, hip
sometimes
lingo.
I portmanteau two phrases together. I'll go, my brother in Christ in this economy. And that's peak Gen Z right there.
My bruh in Christ.
My bruh in Christ in this economy, question mark. And the laughs abound.
Oh, God. And they're like, oh, wow, you're totally not a millennial. You are young and hip like us.
Young and hip. I am in no way an elder millennial, which I realize now if I'm like, wait a minute. So it's 81 to 96. And I was born in 84. And I'm like, fuck, there's a whole group of millennials that are just younger and hipper than me.
I think it makes sense with us because I was born in 82. And I think someone pointed out, I read it online. They call our section of millennials the Oregon Trail millennials.
Sure.
And that basically the first half of our lives, we grew up without the internet and then got it at around high school or so.
Yep.
And that gives us a different perspective on all that stuff. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's like we had computers, but they weren't connected to the internet, which
Right.
I imagine them as like fucking mind blowing. Like, so what did you do with them? Be like, well, video games or word processing. That's pretty much it.
Well, what if you wanted someone, if you wrote something and you wanted someone to see it? Well, you saved it to a disk and like a thumb drive? No. Like the symbol on the save button. We had those. We had stacks of them.
And it was called a 3.5-inch floppy.
Yeah.
With a straight
so it was
face.
floppy. No, it was hard.
It was hard. Yeah. It was called a floppy because there's a 5-inch floppy.
Yeah.
That was floppy.
That was floppy. That one was wibbly wobbly.
You could go
floppy.
blah, 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 blah.
God damn, I remember all that shit. I remember installing Indiana Jones and the Temple of Atlantis on 16 3-inch floppies. Like,
yeah, it was a lot. We had so many. I just remembered when we got rid of our Commodore. I think it was our Commodore. We got rid of our. It was like the last thing that had 5-inch floppy, and so we got rid of all of our 5-inch floppy discs. And like looking back, I wish we had kept them. But the only one I remember, my mom was just throwing them out. And for those who have listened to the podcast long enough, my abject fear of Howard the Duck, the video game.
Yeah.
So that one I took from her, and I took a pair of scissors and I just absolutely fucking destroyed it before I allowed her to throw it out. It was like, here, you can have this back.
There you go.
Which is hilarious because I've had Howard the Duck pinned in Marvel Snap now for weeks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love that they brought him in. That's cool.
Yeah. Anyway. We're in chapter 15.
We're in chapter 15. Etain senses that Gutane has died and knows that she has killed him. Fee gets kind of snide about it, and Darman gets really defensive of her, and everyone's like, ooh, Darman's got a girlfriend. Oh, why don't you kiss her? Why don't you marry her and have a bunch of clone babies? We get a lot of discussion about the ends justifying the means. We were made for this kind of thing. She says, she says, well, what if I do that to you guys? And they're like, yeah, you will. That's the idea. That's how this works. Yeah, that's how this works.
You will be.
You will be. So
you will justify those means.
You will. You'll send people to die. Cool it will be. Taste for it you'll get. Yoda to a fucking sociopath.
So what if she did have a clone baby, would the baby pop out at like 3 months or?
Yeah. I mean, we find out later with a quote, and we're going to get to it, how old they basically get to.
Yeah.
And so they're like,
chronologically, so like an old man clone chronologically is 23, but the age of the clone is about 60.
So a little over,
it's like a little under 4x.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, couple of months. Yeah.
If the acceleration
and then you cut it in half because it's half normal human, half clone. So it would be half the gestation period.
And that's how we got that Robin Williams movie about the.
That's how this works. Jack.
Jack. There we go.
Yeah, that's how this works.
This is like a movie just made for tears.
Oh God, I saw that movie in the theater, and I just immediately remember going, "Oh God, why have I come to see this? Like this is a mistake. This is a mistake on so many different levels."
But they're all Jacks.
They're all Jacks. Yep. They're all that.
Jacks all the way down.
Jack's all the way down. I like this moment. Darman realizes, based on these conversations, why their old instructor was always so sad about them. He's starting to understand why why Daddy drank. Basically,
why Daddy drank. Yeah,
yeah. He can't quite understand her hesitance yet. But he's starting to get it. We find out this is going to be the first time that they have ever actually fought together as a squad, which doesn't sound right, but is totally true.
Totally true, because Darman fucked it all up in the beginning by
fucking Darman
trying to get more explosives from the plane.
What an inciting incident, by the way. Like the whole thing started because he kicks his sergeant out of the plane because he wants more bombs.
Who the fuck does he think he is? BJ Blazkowicz? Like, what is this?
It's bad. So they get remotes set up. There are remotes set up at the villa. They see droids leaving for the lab along with Hoken, so everyone's splitting up. And it seems that Goutenet did his job too well, basically. He made him paranoid enough that he's going to split them up. So they're going to have to do a little more improvisation. This is where I wrote down some notes here about the fact that they refer to the droids as tinnies, which evokes skinnies for me, which was what American soldiers called Somalian soldiers in the 90s when we were over there. And I did some research, and they claim, because at that point Somalia had gone through a huge famine, and so a lot of them were incredibly emaciated. And they claim in the thing that I read that it wasn't because they were actually skinny, but it was because a lot of the guys in that group were big fans of Starship Troopers, and that's what they called some of the aliens, and they called them skinnies. And I was like, okay, that's still not great.
Still not better.
Still not great. Is it just kind of an ignorant thing you called them, or is it an actively fascist thing you called them?
Are you being so like? Are you, when you're coming up with a nickname for the group that is opposing you? How racist is it? You got to stop and think.
Right.
Are we talking about because they went through a famine? Mm-hmm. Is it because their skin is dark?
Yeah.
Or are you comparing them to the antagonist of a book and movie where the antagonist is a literal insect?
Right.
Which one is it? They're all bad.
This is all
which
bad.
One?
It's all bad news.
So, yes. Tinnies, every time I heard tinnies, like, why is that striking me weird in my head?
Yeah. This is the point in my notes that it was the same thing. I was like, this is making me think of something. It was an interesting detail. Niner wants backup, but Fee notices some kid taking a side entrance at the villa, bringing fruit to the villa's cellars, which doesn't make sense because they're only supposed to be droids in the villas. What the hell do they want with fruit? And they realize that it's Janart, and that ain't fruit. Those are the explosives that they have loaded her up with. So their backup is already there, essentially.
Already ready to go.
Oh, Janart. Janart's the MVP of this book, by the way. She fucking
really
rules.
is. She really does pretty much everything for them.
Yeah, no, she kicks ass. They would not have succeeded in this without Janart. We cut to Dr. Uthan and Hoken in their office. Hoken is pitching the idea of trapping the clones and gassing them effectively
with the virus. We'd be like, let's test it on them. And Uthan's like, that's a terrible idea.
That's stupid as shit. And in fact, I'd rather you catch at least one of them alive so that I can do some tests on him. And Hoken's like, you're an idiot. They're basically having a you're an idiot moment at each other at the same time.
They're idiot off.
Yeah, exactly. Hoken tells her and the scientist to stay put. It cuts to Niner contacting the Republic ship and asking for gun support. The ship might have an attack of their own to fend off, they point out, but they agree. They're like, look, we're going to help you, but if we don't immediately respond, it's because we're getting shot at.
Yeah.
So
it's like, hey guys, we'll slow down. And but the funny thing is like, it's done with this like really straightforward, like military. Be like, that's a Roger on that. If we slow down a little bit, we're dealing with some issues of ourselves. But it's just like
you can hear his best Delta pilot voice, like, we are slowing down here, and
we're don't worry, guys, we're going to pick up the fire soon. But we got a little visitor on our port side we're having to deal with, and we'll get back to you.
We'll get back to you and see if we can't nuke some tinnies. Over and out.
Oh, God.
Jannart arrives and lets them know that Uthan is not in the villa, but it is filled with explosives underneath of it that are ready to be blown to shit at a moment's notice, which is great news. They just need a new angle. Over time, Niner's starting to realize how important this flexibility is to the squad. He's considering. He's like, Intel is great, but Intel is often bullshit, and this is not the first time that we've seen that happen. To the point where Etain actually had to point out, look, you've got the wrong buildings assigned to you here.
Yeah.
So he's starting to realize the value in that level of flexibility. He also realizes they're more or less doing full-fledged army work. He kind of has to remind himself, like, we're special forces. Like, we're supposed to be like in and out, like covert ops kind of shit.
This is a job for more people.
Mm-hmm. We are doing the work of several squads, in fact. And Etain hears this, and it gives her some kind of relief because it's just she's just kind of relieved to see that they don't follow all orders blindly necessarily, that they do have points of view and they do think about this stuff. We got a great set of lines where they're talking about how bullshit this whole thing looks at. And Fee says, if you can't take a joke, you shouldn't have joined. To which Atten replies, I didn't join, which is... You were volunteered, my friend. Yeah, that is totally fair.
That is conscription from birth.
Yeah, literal birth conscription. It's a good moment of levity. I got a kick out of that. Darman wants to know if there is a way that they can sneak into the area and through drainage or something like that and fight their way out. And Jannart points out that the Gedans have warrens and tunnels that interconnect all throughout the area under there, and there should be some tunnels that would be wide enough to get them to drainage pipes and that sort of thing so that they can get their way
into the facility from underneath, basically.
Exactly. And so they start to notice that the Gedans always avoid her. They even try to eat them. And so they say, why do the Gedans always avoid you? Which goes, because we eat them. Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's easy to forget because she's a shapeshifter that the way they describe her in her actual form, she is like quadrupedal and very bestial in nature. So it's things like that remind you, oh, right. She's a hunter out there.
Yeah, exactly.
So the new plan is that Jannart and Darman with Atten are going to infiltrate while... Thank you, Ripley.
Ripley wants to... Hi, Ripley. Oh, she is a chubby little kitty, isn't she?
She's so fat.
Look at that.
Oh, God.
Chonky girl.
She is a chonky girl. She is built for comfort, not for speed. That is for damn sure.
She's just sitting on your back for a second there.
She does that. She used to, when she was a kitten, she would sit. We got her when she was very little, and she would just sit on my shoulder, and that was her spot. And now whenever I pick her up and hold her there, she's not content to be held. She has to crawl up onto my shoulder, and she'll still just do her best.
She'll plop kind of on your
so,
shoulder.
It's adorable, but it is kind of sad. It's like,
That butt does not fit up there anymore.
That's not where this is. You need a couch, honey. And I can say that because I need a couch. It's like father, like daughter, basically. So yeah, the new plan: Jannart and Darman and Atten are going to infiltrate the facilities, while Niner and Fee provide support outside. They're going to extract Dr. Uthan, and Etain is going to help get her clear of the place, basically using her mind powers and that sort of thing to keep her calm and get more information out of her. And then they're going to blow the place to Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
If the mission fails, Etain promises that she will order that the facilities be vaporized from orbit, basically.
Just a straight up orbital bombardment.
Yeah, she goes speaking of Ripley, she goes full Ripley on them and says, I'm not going to, nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Yeah.
So we do get this really interesting moment with her and Niner at the end of the chapter where they're basically both offering brave faces for the mission's success. Niner recognizes that she's like, you guys are great and you've got this. And it's like, no one was asking. She just kind of like, and Niner's like, well, yeah, that makes sense though. Cause we just, in a moment like this, there's no room for doubt.
Right. Yeah.
Chapter 16 opens with a quote.
So wait, 15, they all take drugs.
Oh yes, you're absolutely right. They do a lot of drugs. They take a lot of stims.
They take a lot of stims, and Etain is like, well, I should get my power from the Force, and she's like, but no, give me a stim.
Yeah. She's like, I mean, normally Jedi would do powers from the Force, but I'll do a bump. Sure.
I'll take a bump.
I'll have a T-rail. So, you're right. I can't, they all do drugs. No one's sleeping well. Let's face facts. You might need a little meth. You just might.
You might need some,
it worked for the Nazis right up until it didn't. Chapter 16 opens with a quote from a retired. We talked about this. This is an actual, honest-to-God, retired clone trooper who is not retired through death, not retired by cop, but he's too old, and he is and as Kevin pointed out, he is 23 years old, but that effectively makes him 60. So they don't need him out there. He's a liability. Let's see. We get Darman, Atten, and Jannart in the country. They're feeling kind of conspicuous in their white armor. It's nighttime, but they're kind of glowing out there, basically. The armor is awesome, but they feel like sitting ducks sometimes. Yeah, they're like, we need to get black versions of this armor.
Black next time, please.
Yeah, exactly. This is another of many like lists of things that they're going to go to the quartermaster with.
They've been making a list throughout the book of we got to do this, we got to do that. Like
it's pretty terrific.
They're so wrong, and the designers of everything are so wrong,
so wrong. It's we need to cover this up. Yeah. They find the a Warren hole, and it gets pretty. They get pretty claustrophobic pretty quick, which is interesting because they say they're both Darman and Atten are feeling kind of wary of being in a tunnel, and they were like, and they realize that this must be something Django dealt with. Django. They like, I don't know, we're cloned from the same guy. He clearly had hang-ups when it came to this sort of thing.
Oh, right. Yeah, like then we're like the claustrophobia.
I thought that was interesting. I think it's fascinating the way they talk about Jango Fett is it's very there's almost like a deity level to it in a way.
Yeah.
It's something they all have in common. It's a common part of the culture, and they can only speculate on him now. It's really very interesting.
Yeah, he's like somewhere between a father and a god.
Yeah, just this legendary out there kind of force.
Right.
A force. Anyway.
Force.
The force.
The force.
The Mandalorian force. God damn it. Give Mandalorians Jedi powers, and we're all fucked forever.
We're all fucked.
Ever. They find a wall that if they drill through it, it'll lead to drainage. And Jannart leaves to assist Niner and Fee. As they dig, we get Darman kind of missing Etain. He gets little pink hearts above his head.
Yeah. But he's only missing her because she could use her force power to make sure the thing didn't collapse on them.
Absolutely. That's the only reason, though. You guys. It has nothing to do with those childbearing hips, you guys. You guys. They drill through the pipe and get covered in literal shit.
Covered in shit. Yep.
Covered in shit. And they both have a good laugh about it, which they comment is kind of this primal relief feeling that the laughter comes less from actual humor of the situation and more from the fact that they are about to step into the lion's den here.
Right.
We cut to Niner and Fee setting up guns outside of the facility with Etain. They're coordinating, coordinating charge explosions. Oh, coordinating charge explosions in the facility and the villa. Etain reassures them, and it feels more like this is for her than for Niner and Fee. They set off the explosions and fire on the droids that are escaping it to keep the distraction going. Niner calls in support from the Majestic, who thinks they're absolutely out of their fucking minds. It's pretty funny, and they're just blowing these droids to pieces. And Niner has not noticed that none of the debris from all these exploding robots has been hitting them, and realizes
I love this moment.
Yeah, it's a great. He looks over and Etain is in kind of this meditative pose, and he realizes she's been using her force powers to shield them from all the debris. It's a cool reveal. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's like he notices that there's a chunk of like shrapnel not too far from him that just would have been it would have given him a haircut, he says.
That's right. Yeah. It's terrific. It's nice. It is. And this is one of the things we're starting to see Etain kind of coming into her own.
Right.
And I interpret it as, because at first it's like she's just shitty. She's a terrible Jedi. She's not good at anything, but she's also her Jedi master sucked and gave her nothing to really fight for, gave her nothing to believe in on that level. And so now the irony is that she's a much, much better Jedi now that she's with these non-Jedi clone troopers. But she's got something to believe in, and it's actually helping her get in touch with the Force. I thought that was pretty cool. Cut to Darman and Atten are in the inner chamber of the facilities there. They are looking for the nanovirus and setting explosives up. They hide them. They basically, they're little bitty explosive devices, and there are two of them, and they hide them like in medicine cabinets and shit like that. And they make sure to hide both of them because they're like, all right, well, if they find the one, they might not assume that there's a second one. And one by itself is plenty to just blow this place to kingdom come. Including the virus, by the way. Like the explosion heat will destroy any level
everything.
Yeah, everything. We get a little war tech porn. We learn about some EMP weaponry, very cool. This door jack kind of thing, which is neat. They use this jack to open up one of the doors using high powered compression or something like that, and actually that becomes a problem when the bulkhead doors start dropping, basically. And we'll find out later that the whole reason that the security failsafe got set off is because one of the doors wasn't allowed to close. The system interpreted that as an invasion correctly. And
everything's shut.
Everything shuts down. There's nothing for them to do. They are pinned down by droids and surrounded by bulkheads. And the bulkheads cut them off.
Right.
So and then they look up and they see somebody off in the distance. And who is it but Dr. Uthan?
It's trapped in there with them.
She's trapped in there and she's armed to the teeth. So Like, oh, good, our objective. Oh, shit.
Shit, she's got a gun.
Here we go. Chapter 17. Hoken and his lieutenant are sealed on the wrong side of the bulkhead, and Hoken is pissed. He wants to know who did this. This is another great example of him going, God, these people are strategic geniuses, and it was just them fucking up. They fucked up.
Right.
This was not on purpose.
This is brilliant.
God damn it.
Fuck, we accidentally activated the doors.
Yeah, exactly.
Cut to Hoken and be like, oh, these are Django Fett clones.
It's Django, all right. God damn, they're good. What's more dangerous than one Django? 4 Djangos. Or as far as he knows, 8. So, yeah, so security's been triggered, and Harati, the lieutenant, is going to try and break through the security while Hoken literally stands in front of the bulkhead with the lightsaber just going, whoom, whoom, whoom. And he does.
The metal's too thick. It's like,
yeah,
he's
it's
just
not. He's like looking at it and noticing it's kind of warping a little. But I bet you money that's his own imagination. He just has to feel like he's doing something. It's boom, boom, and that's where we leave them. We cut to Darman and Atten dealing with a heavily armed Dr. Uthan, who is hiding in a room with some Trandoshans, and a melee scrap breaks out. This is our first like knife fight, basically.
Right.
So the Trandoshans get dead by stabbing is what I wrote here.
They sure do.
They get stabbed a lot. And one of them even goes, oh, yeah, I remember the sergeant saying stabbing's a real slow way to kill a guy. So it's pretty brutal. Oh,
It's a pretty brutal scene.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. So they don't know what else is in the room with Dr. Uthan, so they both EMP and flashbang it because they're like droids, meat, whatever. Anything that's in there is not going to be
down.
happy.
Yeah. And when they get in there, it's just amazing because they get in there and she's like, and Uthan is just fucking down.
Yeah.
And then Darman's like, oh, yes, not everybody. He had become used to Etane's resilience. Uthan was a regular human, untrained, unfit, and apart from her intellect, nothing special.
Yeah.
So, they really overkilled on throwing stuff into that.
Need a little aloe for that burn, Dr. Uthan? Damn. So they drag Uthan out of there. She mentions that there are 4 scientists. We get a brief moment of what do we do with them? Do we just let them go up with the building, but they're civilians? Atten points out that they're just following orders. And
They're just following orders.
They're just following orders. And
they're like, Darman's like, nah, all right, fuck it.
Yeah.
They can die.
Yeah, Darman. I mean, he points out. He says, "We're good with letting them fry. It's about time they learn they're part of a war. Let's let them feel like they're part of a war."
Not all soldiers wear uniforms, man.
Exactly. So Darman is anti-Operation Paperclip.
Yes.
we stan an anti-Nazi king. Thank you, Darman. We cut to Hokan still attacking the door. I love this scene because he's still just whom.
Yeah.
And the door opens. And for a split second he goes, I did it. The lightsaber worked. Yeah. And but it's
Harati.
It's Harati actually hacking the system. He's managed to hack open some of the doors and some of the bulkheads. And so they head over to the lab and find the remaining 4 scientists. The nanovirus is there, but it's locked up, and Uthan's the only person who has passcodes. So this is if this can make trouble if this is and this is very frustrating to Hokan, and he thinks to himself, this is the kind of trouble that 4 or again, to his mind, 8 clones can make. He's trembling at the thought of millions of them out there.
Right. Yep.
Chapter 18. The last 4 chapters are like half the size of all the rest of them.
Yeah, they really power through.
Yeah, they do. They really do. Niner and Fee get the lowdown from Darman and Atten through transmissions. There's a gunship on its way. And Niner wants Fee and Attain to head to the extraction point, like, without him immediately. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that.
Right.
So as far as that's concerned, they're wondering if Attain can use her powers to help Darman and Atten escape from the facility somehow, because they're basically, because of the bulkhead situation, going to have to go back the way they came, underground. And so she says, yeah, I can do something. I just need, like, to find the shallowest area along their route.
Right.
So she takes a blaster, and she and Jannart cross the fields to an area that Jannart, quote, senses echoes. It looks like she's sniffing,
right?
But she's actually sensing, doing some sort of echolocation thing, like intense bat shit,
right?
Basically, and finds a good spot and says they're not under here. They're further along, but if you do this, then it won't.
And then Attain force rips like a trench in the ground, revealing them.
It's a really cool scene. Like it's well written in terms of like how the Force is used and that sort of thing. Yeah, and she it's like this perfectly scooped mound of earth, like a piece of construction equipment would have done.
Right.
And Jannart is really impressed.
And Darman and Atten come out covered in shit.
Yes, they do. With
Dr. Uthan.
and the Dr. Uthan is drugged to the gills. You get the impression she was a real pain in the ass, and they just gave her like
shot her up with some morphine.
Just shot her up. Jannart tells them that she's done all that she can and hopes that the Jedi will honor the promise that they made to help retake the world for them. And she's gone. That is a wrap on Jannart. And we cut to Hokan with Harati and the scientists. They've got some speeder bikes. And basically he says, what we're going to do is we're going to kill the lights and we're going to fucking ride like hell out of here.
This whole thing.
Yeah. He goes, this
You'll
whole
find
plan,
out in a second why it's just hilarious. He's just laying out this whole plan. Be like, all right.
Plan.
When I say drop, you drop to the ground. When I say lights, we're going to hit those speeders and we're going to get the fuck out of here, okay?
Yeah, he's basically giving the whole plan. We're going to go straight out, just fucking ride for your lives. Scientists going to be holding on Harati, scientists holding on to Hokan, and then scientists off on their own. Like, yeah, you hear drop, you know, like just really psyching them up. Okay, hit the lights. And we get to chapter 19.
Cut to outside.
Yes, to outside. Yes. Snyder and Fee see Hokan and the party escaping the facilities, and they're like, and just start shooting. Fucking shooting. And they lose sight of Hokan, but everybody else is just gone.
You hear like they hear someone yell "drop" from far away, but then But the three shapes didn't, at least not until the plasma rounds hit them.
Right. Someone says drop, and they do not drop. They do, but yeah.
So, those scientists that Hokan was going to save because they knew as much as anybody about the nanovirus, they're dead.
They're dead now. They're dead now. So Niner gives Darman the order to blow the facilities, and he does, and it just fucking blows to shit. And this is another moment where we get proof that Fee is totally our Michelangelo on the team. Because they basically get blown, like literally blown away. They're both like carried. It's that big of an explosion. They're carried away. They're both face down in the mud, and like Niner looks over at Fee, and it's basically he says, "What's
the phrase?" The word they use is index.
Index, because he does one explosion, says that's an index, and
there's a second one. And he goes, no, that's the index.
That's the index. But the way they're describing him, it's like you could just hear that that was fucking awesome. Like he loved it. It just describes how happy he is in that moment. It just was fucking cool. So Fee is totally our Michelangelo of the group. It's wonderful to see. We cut to Hokan on his speeder bike, covered in the blood of the scientist who used to be riding behind him. He almost feels guilty. Harati shows up also alone and points out all the scientists are dead. He said, I said drop. They didn't drop. Civilians don't. It turns out civilians don't really listen when gunfire starts popping. Like, no, I guess not. Now this Hoken realizes now that nanovirus is gone. The scientists are gone. So now the only thing
we
left,
got to get Uthan.
we have to get Uthan. Like it's really important we get her. And the only thing he thinks about, he says, the only thing that could be happening next is they could be getting extracted. So the only thing to do is to sit quietly and listen for an extraction ship of some kind. So that's what he's going to do. We cut to Etain, Darman, and Atten. They are located by a gunship. And just as they're about to board, Atten drops. He's been shot. And Darman kills the shooter, says that it was some one of Hoken's captains. It's basically heavily implied that it was Harati.
It was probably Harati.
Yeah, who had been doing the same thing, listening for an extraction vessel.
Yeah.
Etain, and there we get first aid scenes with Darman. Really interesting stuff. We get a lot of really cool details. Like, for example, he gives him a painkiller and he gives him, I think, a blood clot or something like that.
Yeah, and he writes, and he's writing what he's been given on the helmet. So
on the
he writes
helmet.
a P and Z. Z is for blood loss agent because B looks too much like P when you're in a hurry. It's interesting. It's
very cool details. Etain is blaming herself for the whole situation because she was trying to help carry Uthan with the power of the Force, and if she'd been using the Force to keep an eye on them, then she might have noticed the sniper before Atten got shot. Even worse, she goes to go pick up Uthan. Uthan's been hit by shrapnel from Atten's armor, so she is bleeding out steadily herself. So just
man, Harati just really
it's a good thing Harati's already dead because Hoken would be pissed. And this is when we're getting more change from Etain. She is getting real military here. She's speaking and not even recognizing her voice. Just like we got to go, let's go. She is part of the squad, basically, at this point. We cut to Niner and Fee on their way to the evacuation point. Fee's clearly worried about Atten. They know what's happened.
Oh, yeah. There was the one thing. Etain also knew had forged a bond that would cause her enormous pain in years to come. It was worse than falling in love. It was a totally different level of attachment. It was shared trauma.
Yes.
Master Foulier said you could fall out of love, but Etain knew you could never fall out of this because history could never change.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
That's good shit. It's good shit. It's damn. Yeah. Yeah. It's stuff like that I keep coming back to Rubicon Protocol.
Yep.
Just that real life war shit. It works. It's great.
Yeah.
Let's see. They happen to see Hokan on his speeder. One of them says, "Can you shoot him?" And he's like, "Yeah." So they blow his speeder up, knock him off, and they're like, "Great." And so, but they think he's prone, they think he's down, but he's faking it. And we get this kind of cat and mouse scene in the dark because he throws out an EMP grenade and blows out their visors and all of their technological equipment. So
he's like, they're like, Jesus Christ, like what, like. Can't they harden the electronics in our stuff a little bit more?
Right. It's like, put that on the list. Put that on the list for the quartermaster. We need better armor, as it turns out. Didn't know that. I can't put it on the list. It was all in my computer setup, and that's been fucked. So they try throwing the remaining IEDs, but those also got ruined by the EMP.
Yes, they throw them. Nothing happens.
Nothing happens. So what do you do in a moment like that, Kevin? What do you do when you're out of like your technology is gone? You're playing cat and mouse in a very primal way with this Mandalorian warrior. What do you do?
What do you do Well, you do the whole hey guard, he's this guy is really injured. You got to come check on him. Trick. Yeah. Niner throws himself to the ground and starts screaming as if he's terribly injured.
Yeah, just screaming his head off. That's okay, sure. And he even points out, he goes, I never really heard it. I've never screamed before, but I've seen people scream. I wonder if I'm going to be any good at this. He is, as it turns out.
Yes, he knows how to play dead.
Yeah. We chapter 20, we get a quote from Cal Scarata, their old training sergeant, basically saying he doesn't know who the good guys in this situation are, but he definitely knows who the bad guys are. Just basically about how muddled and the shades of gray of war.
Yeah.
We get Darman and Atten are watching the gunship coming in. Uthan and Atten are both collected by medics and that sort of thing onto the ramp. General Zay is there with Valaquil, the shapeshifter, and an ARC trooper. We get a look at an ARC trooper, and these people are like the only kind of troopers that scare our commandos.
Yeah.
Just very intense looking dude.
Very intense looking dude. Basically pure Django. Just they'll do whatever the fuck they want.
Unfiltered, yeah. Etain has impressed General Zay, clearly. She doesn't really give a shit. He's like sitting there going, well, you've been doing great. You know, we just got to find you a new master to work under, and you're going to be a Jedi Knight before you know it. You're doing this is really impressive. And she doesn't give a shit. She's like, I don't care about that. Where are Niner and Fee?
Yeah.
Where are they? And he's kind of like, I don't know. They're not.
Well, their comms are down. They're probably dead. We can go.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Their comms are down. Probably dead. We should head on back. Poor Darman has a minor flashback where he's like, "Oh Jesus Christ, no, not again." You know, he did like he's worried that Adam's gonna die and these two are dead too, and he's gonna be an orphan again.
Yep.
So it's really sad, actually.
Yeah.
Etain will not, she refuses to leave. She says, we're not leaving any of these people behind. The general's trying to pull their soldiers. That's what they signed up for. This is how it works. And she says, no, I don't give a shit. I know them. If we're going, she goes into the whole Jedi thing. You know?
And she threatens to ground the ship.
Yes.
She holds her lightsaber out at a power conduit. And it's like, either we save them or we're all stuck here.
Yeah. And finally the general's like, oh, okay, go ahead. And Darman.
But you are not ready to be a Jedi Knight.
Yeah. She says, I don't think I'm ready to be a Jedi Knight anyway. And he's like, yeah, I think we're in agreement on that. But Darman does note a look on the general's face where he thinks he might be proud of her. Like he's actually impressed.
Yeah.
We cut to Hokan listening to Niner scream for Cal, and because he knows that most people at the end when they die they scream for their mother, they cry for their mother. These clones don't have,
but they got Cal.
They don't have a mom, but they've got Cal, so they've got and it's actually really poignant and sad. This whole scene is incredibly, unspeakably sad to me.
Yeah,
because Hokan is horrified at Niner for so many reasons. He's horrified at he's like, God, this is what the clones are? Like, it's kind of pathetic on one hand. On the other hand, he feels sorry for him because he's like, he's not really a person. He's just, this is pathetic what they've done to him. He doesn't deserve this. And he's got all these emotions, and as a Mandalorian, and he's cloned from Mandalorian stock. And so he kind of feels like he's got a duty to this guy. And he says, I'm going to finish him off. And just go up. So he goes up. He's not going to cut him up with a lightsaber because Mandalorians deserve better than that. So he's about to. He hates this. He absolutely hates what's going on. And it's kind of, you get that Spartan sense of humanity, that Mandalorian kind of feel to him. And Hokan is our villain, but at the same time, you get where his head's at in this moment. He's just really sad at what's become of this whole situation.
Yeah.
And as he is about to kill Niner, he hears a lightsaber over his shoulder.
Etain cuts his fucking head off.
So, damn, girl. She's getting pretty good at that lightsaber, I gotta say. So Hokan's dead. Everybody's okay and accounted for. Fee goes through Hokan's stuff and gets her master's lightsaber back and gives it to her. She just kind of barely registers it. She is shell-shocked. Niner says, do you mind if I call you Commander now after everything? And she says it's an honor.
They tell her to put away her lightsaber.
Yeah, exactly. She's still just standing there staring into the middle distance with an ignited lightsaber. They're like, Etain,
you might want to put that away.
You can put that away. It's like, Etain, is everything okay, honey? Like, just do you want some tea?
You
all right?
need some tea? You good? Well, let's get on with it. Let's
get out of here. And she kind of snaps out of it. The gunship is waiting for them. Etain, we get this little detail I had to write down. Etain is really haunted by the sound of Niner screaming. She knows that it was a distraction. She knows that he was just putting it on, but him crying out for Cal and everything like that really fucked with her head. Yeah. And she's starting to understand the Jedi tradition of detachment, of not getting so close to everybody.
Right.
And General Zay even explains to her its importance. And despite all of that, she can't let go of it. It hurts like hell, but she'd rather have that attachment to these people than protect herself. Basically, he gives her the lowdown that he's going to be staying on Quellara to help honor the agreement that they had with Gurlanians to protect the planet, but also, frankly, to make
basically
sure
rip the Trade Federation out root and stem from Quellara.
Exactly, which benefits the Republic more than anything. But that doesn't matter. They're keeping a bargain's a bargain, and he basically says to her, "You can stay here with me." And maybe one of the clone troopers can stay too, or you can go off with them. Because she's like, I don't want to leave. I want to stay with Omega Squad. I want to stay with these guys. I don't want to leave them. And he says, well, that's your choice. You can do that, or you can stay here. There's a lot of work to be done here, and you'd be really good at it. And maybe one of the clone troopers can stay with you. So, of course, she immediately thinks maybe Darman could stay. Yeah. So she goes off to the Omega Squad and lets them know I'm staying here. I'm going to stay here. They have their goodbyes and sign my yearbook and have a great summer and do that whole thing. And then she gets a moment alone with Darman and says, you could stay. He said that, one of y'all could stay and I'd love for you to stay. And he tells her he can't do it. He can't leave his squad behind. Yeah. That's just not in his nature. She totally gets it, but she gets off of the gunship and it flies away, and she watches it, tears streaming down her face, hoping that the Jedi Master isn't watching her cry over these clones leaving. But as they leave without her, she considers that she will never ever she will lead and become a commander and do all this stuff, but she's never not going to see these clones as anything less than human.
Right, and they're not just expendable.
Yeah,
under that grim helmet was a man, someone just like her. Exactly,
and that's the end. That's the end of Star Wars Republic Command Hard Contact.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, what'd you think?
Oh, it was really good, and I think it's kind of like, I feel like some of the, so there's like, it's really good, and I think there's more of this kind of stuff that I feel like Andor, I need to watch Andor still, because I know Andor kind of gets into the nitty gritty of like, fucking war sucks, man. More than other of the more recent stuff. But yeah, no, I was a big fan of this, and I understand why a lot of people are huge fans of Karen Travis's work, both across Star Wars and Halo.
Yes.
So. Yes. I'm looking forward to whatever we read next from her.
God help me, she makes me want to read the Gears of War novels.
Yes.
She wrote those, and fuck, if she did half as good a job on those as she did with this, then that sounds like a treat. I'm in.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the things that the only thing this book suffers from, and it's not her fault, is the Mandalorian lore has changed a little bit from when this was written. Like, one of the things was Hokan mentions something about Mandalorian armor probably couldn't stand up to a lightsaber, and literally the only thing in the universe that stood up to lightsabers was Mandalorian armor. That's been established later that the Mandalorians were basically the counterpoint to the Jedi in terms of fighting. So I think that's something that's been developed later. But yeah, otherwise it's really fucking good. In terms of getting into the nitty gritty of, the characters and the trauma.
Yes,
these characters aren't just and that's something that Star Wars never really leans on ever, is the idea of trauma. Being something that, and it's something that is going to be in a wartime setting. And these are all characters throughout the course of you have Atten, who has been traumatized before the story even starts. You have Atane, who has been traumatized by being poorly trained. She's been stuck on this planet now without her master and just being chased around by would-be rapists or whatever. You have, and then going through this entire experience, if it takes I can't remember how long this takes over the course of the book. It feels like it's a couple weeks.
It's
I think, right? The whole operation. But yeah, no, it's great. And I'm looking forward to reading the other Republic Commando books that she wrote.
Same here.
And because it's almost bittersweet because we're building up this amazing character in Atane, and she's not long for the world anyway.
That's the thing. There is an underlying feeling of tragedy in all of this. None of these people are long for this world.
That Atane just feels so heartbroken for this group of people that ultimately one day will turn their blasters on her and cut her down.
That's fucking crazy. I totally agree. I'm going to read more of this series. This is one of those books that I can't help but recommend to all of our fans. Anybody who's listening, this is one of those books you definitely ought to read.
Yeah, if you're a Star Wars fan or you're just if you just like sci-fi military stuff.
Yeah,
either way.
Sci-fi military is just the real sweet spot of all of our video game novelization shit. The more we go,
so far,
the more
yeah. It's been the most. It's been good the most often, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now that we've gotten that out of the way, Kevin, I just have a single question for you.
Yes.
What are you playing?
Oh, okay. Let's see. What have I been playing? All right. So I've been playing Fear and Hunger 2. That's a fun game. Really enjoy Fear and Hunger 2.
Fun's an interesting word for it, but okay.
It's a fun game. You might just be taking your character, you're dodging all enemies. You're trying not to get engaged with certain enemies, and then you accidentally step on a landmine that ends your run.
Yeah. That's that.
Or you're walking through the forest and there's a trap, with spikes that you step on. You go down, you fall through the leaves. And that's that.
Sounds great. Sounds awesome.
It's great. It's great. You know, I do love myself some of these games that are just a little bit masochistic.
That you do. That you do.
Just like, but as to me, as long as there's like a learning element to it, like each time you play it, you learn a little bit more about what the game wants of you and what it expects of you.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
No,
you know?
I totally agree. As long as it isn't just fucking with you at a certain point.
No, I don't think it's. That's the thing is, I don't think it's fucking with you, because it's like, okay, well, I've learned that this is a thing now. Next time I play, I'm aware of this thing.
Right.
Like
right.
you don't make that mistake again.
Yeah.
So Funger 2. I've also been playing Lies of P again. I've gotten through the boss that was giving me a bunch of trouble. I've run into another boss that is, it's one of those bosses that's like, their attack pattern is like relatively simple. It's just like, I'm like, why am I just not doing enough damage? I gotta go back around and figure out why suddenly, like, I'm able to clear out the enemies in the area with pretty easily, but I'm at this boss, and it's just like, it becomes more of a battle of attrition, and eventually, because the boss does more damage than me, and you know, I don't have enough heals, like, yeah, I probably just gotta get good and parry the attacks more often. But I don't know, it's more of an annoying, it's not like I gotta put the game down like the other boss was. Right. It's more of like I'm watching this boss and hitting and all that stuff, and like, I feel like I should be able to take care of it. It feels attainable, but for some reason it's not, and I got to figure out why. That's been the issue. I've been firing up on occasion. Void Stranger again. I'm still messing around with that. There's so many weird little things in Void Stranger, and I'm not sure if I love it or hate it, but I'll probably have an answer on that. I've beaten, quote unquote, beaten the game once before. It's a Sokoban game where
right. Yes. I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've beaten it, I've rolled credits on it, but there's a lot of like spoilers, I guess, for people who are interested in playing Void Stranger. There's a lot of frog fractions-ish hidden stuff, it feels like. Just like, oh, there's the game that it is on one layer, and then there's the other stuff underneath. And it's so weird that you can look up a guide on like all of the hidden things on every level. The guide makes no fucking sense to me. It's like it's written in code, and it's like, oh, here's how you access all the hidden things, and it's just like, so level 178B3, comma -290, and it's like, what am I looking at? So yeah, it's like something, it kind of tugs on me a little bit, but I mean, there's friends who are very interested in that kind of stuff, who are more attracted to the pull of a game like that I am less so. To me, I feel like if you're gonna be clever, I like clever. I don't like too clever. And that's a personal thing. It's why I don't like Tunic. It's why I have issues with Void Stranger, is because it's one of those, just dial it back a little bit, guys. You're not, it's like, ooh, it's too much. Like, you didn't need to be that fucking clever. Just knock it down a notch.
I play games like that, and I'll be impressed for about 5 minutes, and then I'll be like, all right, cut me some fucking slack, please. Like, just after a while, I get it.
Yeah. So I like clever, but I like clever in the game that I'm actually playing, as opposed to clever in a layer underneath the game.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When you have to like go into the program files and all that shit.
Well, yeah. Or it's like, things are not what they seem. Like, that's okay. Fuck you.
All right. I hear you. All right.
I've thought about reading House of Leaves too.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh god. Which is funny because I love Signalis, which definitely has a lot of that, but I feel like it wears more of it on its sleeve than anything else. It's like it's a very readily apparent level of that, as opposed to Void Stranger, which is also apparent, but I don't know, it's one of those, you know it when you see it feelings. I don't want to spend too much time articulating why I like one thing over the other. I could, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, I get it. I absolutely get that.
Without this episode being another hour longer.
It's just its own, and it's something to be very similar. It could have some similar style to it in one way, shape, or form. And there's just one detail that just can throw you off completely about it. And I get that. I absolutely get that.
Yeah. So, Phil, what have you been playing?
I have been playing. I have played everything that there is in Micro Civilization for in the current form that it's in for early access. I've gotten to basically unlocked all of the research I can unlock and gone as far as I can. I've beaten the first. They have scenarios, and I built the Tower of Babel essentially and brought down God's wrath upon myself.
That's great.
Yeah, it's super fun. No, it's really very good. It's still a very, very solid clicker 4X. I'm really enjoying it. So I'm really just waiting on the next update at this point. Beyond that, I have been indulging a little in the autumn sale and picking up some games that maybe I haven't had the chance to get on, haven't wanted to get on full price essentially. And I picked up Fights in Tight Spaces.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, Fights in Tight Spaces is a kind of a strategy beat 'em up game where it's deck builder, and you play a kind of what's that fucking show? The British like the Gentleman Spy things. It's based on a Garth Ennis comic book, I want to say.
Are you talking about what's it? Kingsman?
Yes. It's got a very Kingsman vibe in terms of its world. It's very English and very you're fighting. It's fist fighting, but you're in a suit. That kind of thing.
Like gentlemen.
Exactly. And it's got a very minimalist black and white and red style, which I really dig. And you have a deck based on the style of fighting you want to do. And it is hard. It's very hard. But every time you have to just do the run. You do this run. You're going from room to room. In one level, in one mission, I was fighting this biker gang, and then the next one, you get planted in a jail, and you got to fight your way out, and all that stuff. And it's very difficult. But every time you die in a run, whenever you finish, when you're done, you're done. You don't get to save it and go back, and it's one and done. But when you do that, you get experience based on how well you did, and it unlocks more cards and more styles. And I remember that first run I was doing, and you start out with just the balanced deck, which is what it sounds like. And I went through it a couple of times. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Because everything, like the deck building aspect of it.
Yeah, I played it a little bit a while ago, and it when you first start out, it's like, this is ball grindingly hard.
Yes. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And then I unlocked my first non-balanced deck, and it's counters. And I was like, counters, whatever. I fucking love it. I've unlocked several decks since then. Counters is still my favorite. There's something really fun about setting yourself up to block and counter a move instead of just like, Jonesy. Instead of just fucking one cat. If it's not one, it's the other. And it's and that has unlocked a lot of shit for me in the sense that I beat the first run, and now I'm getting into the second one and slowly unlocking new moves and upgrading them and everything like that. And it is hard. It is a very hard game, but it's one of those things, like a lot of these games, it's like roguelikes, where it's like the main thing you need for these games is patience. Eventually you'll get to a point where you've got the arsenal that will see you through. And it's all about whether or not you have the patience for that thing.
Right.
But I've been enjoying it. I put about 8 hours into it right now. I've turned the music off. Not that the music's bad. I just need to play Prodigy and heavy metal and all my favorite music in the background. There's nothing better than playing Firestarter in the background while this English techno band while you're beating up as an English gentleman in a suit. Very delightful. Very delightful. You make your own fun in that sense.
Yeah.
But I've really, after I got over that hump, I really, really started getting into it and appreciating it. And they've got a DLC that includes weapons, which should be very interesting. I'm going to try eventually at some point. Oh, and I played the demo for a game called Last Train Home, which it's coming out in a couple of, as of now, it's coming out at the end of November. And for those of you at home, we are at the end of November, but it's part strategy. It takes place after World War II. No, after World War I, and you are a Czech regiment who has been fighting for the Russians. You've been fighting on their side, and you're trying to get out of Russia now because the war is over, but you are caught in the middle of the Bolshevik Revolution. And so you've got the Reds and the Whites on either side of you. And so part of it is real-time strategy where you've got your little squad and you're setting them up and using their strengths and stuff. And the other part is a train Civ game, basically.
Oh, that's neat.
Trying to make it's really interesting, and you're going to the next town, and you've got to make sure that you've got enough fuel and enough food, and your soldiers have an on-the-train job like cook or doctor or something, and an off-the-train job like marksman or scout or something like that. And it's about that balance of stuff. And I played a couple of hours of the demo, and it's very, very good. At some point, I think I would like to get back to it. I don't know if I doubt I'm going to get back to it in time for Game of the Year shit.
Right.
But it's such a unique time period.
Sure.
And yeah, it's after World War I, during this revolution. It's really interesting.
That's awesome.
And it's really cool. And you get storytelling choices and very, very interesting stuff. I'm really impressed by that because I can see where it's a AA game, and for that reason, I mean, I can see people being like, you can't make a fucking game about the Czechoslovakian regiment like coming out of Russia or something. You got to shoot Nazis, like that's all people want or whatever. Right. And it's such a specific time and place, and they've done a beautiful job with it so far, and it looks good. It feels good to play. I'm looking forward to the full release. I think I want to give that one a shot.
Yeah.
So that's
awesome.
Me. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for our last normal episode of the year.
Yes.
Next time we have a regular book episode, I'll be joined by our friend Sam from Afterthoughts.
I'm really looking forward to listening in. I'm going to read along too.
That's awesome. That's good. And in between this and that, we will be having our Game of the Year episode to talk about the games that we thought were of the year 2023. They were of the year.
They were. They sure were.
They sure were of that year.
Yes.
In the meantime, if you want to, come over to patreon.com/pixelatpod and hit up one of the tiers. We got a free tier. We got a cheapy tier. We got a $5 a month tier. We got a $10 a month tier. And through those, you can join our Discord, or you can join our Discord for free. And you know what? It's a blast. Come by, say hi. Now's the time of the show where we shout out our friendliest of friends in the top Patreon tier. One friendly friend. Thank you.
Hello, friendly friend.
For being a friend.
We love it. We love your friendship.
We love you.
Friendliest of friends.
We adore the support and friendship. Thank you. Otherwise, on all other socials, we're at PixelatPod, so you can find us there. And until next time, have a good night, everybody.
Bye.